Welcome back to By Sword and Musket. We're here today to have a look at another revolver from the Section 7.1 collection. You've got to have a Webley. If you're British, you've got to have a Webley in your gun collection. To other nationalities, they may be a bit of a mystery, but they are a superb, solidly built, business-like weapon. No fancy frills or anything. When you've got one in your hand, you really feel that you could take charge of the situation and possibly even rush across no man's land and take out a German machine gun single-handedly and get home in the afternoon in time for tea and medals, as was mentioned in the Blackadder series. Anyway, more seriously, for the poor chaps that had to actually do it, this is a weapon that was purchased by an officer from an English retailer in London. The officers were given an allowance for their uniform and equipment, and they could go and choose within reason whatever sidearm they would be carrying, which usually meant a revolver. Certainly a tried and tested weapon, known to be reliable, known to put up with dirt, and also that packed a fair punch in 4.55 Ely. So you would go to the shop, you'd select your uniform, and then you'd select your revolver, and you take it home nicely cased in an oak carrying case, rather like this one. This one's got a nice leather handle and slip over catches. No lock, of course, because they weren't paranoid about firearm security in those days. So you just walk down the street or enter the army camp carrying this rather splendid, solidly built wooden case. It looks like it's built in oak, and it is of course lined. It has a blank brass escutcheon in the lid, so our man wasn't too worried about recording for posterity who owned the revolver. So I imagine he was more of a business-like soldier who just wanted to get on with the business of, or the unpleasant business of, soldiering. So let's have a look, shall we? What we've got. Blue lined. A nice cutout for cartridges. So 30 cartridges in there. A nicely ground wooden screw turn. An oil bottle. Now, unfortunately, this is not smell-o-vision. Oh, have a sniff. Oh, it's wonderful. Takes you back. Glass bottle, brass top. Lovely. The revolver and compartment for cleaning equipment. Right, I will just pause and put on my sacred white gloves, and we will have a close look at the weapon. Now, Webley revolvers are a massive subject. I'm not going to be giving you every tiny dot of detail on the history and the production of these. I'm going to show you what we have in front of us as a collectible item. Let's check straight away that we're not dealing with a loaded weapon. So push back, release, open the cylinder, and we can immediately see that we have 6 empty chambers. Close her up again. There we go. Now, if we look at we've got a full frame revolver with a decent length barrel, but this grip shape helps to a certain extent identify the period that this revolver was produced in, and this is a popular shape. It was called the bird's head grip. Really more of the Boer War period than later, but these revolvers, being such a solid piece of kit, such a well-made item which lasted so long, went on to carry out sterling service, obviously all the way through the Second Boer War and the First World War, with their 455 cartridge, which had got quite a knockdown power. So this revolver as such is marked WG Army model on the top side of the strap. Okay. I guess, I mean, obviously we've got a serial number. Serial number is along the bottom of the frame. There are a lot of very good resources for records of serial numbers. This one is 15292, and that is repeated on all the relevant parts. Make sure you didn't get your revolver mixed up with anybody else's. And to further back up the fact that this weapon was retailed out privately, along the top strap is the address of where this weapon was sold out from, and it's Hawks and Co., which is obviously a gentleman's outfitters, in 14 Piccadilly, London. That's a lovely bit of history. We could go and try and find the building, see if it still exists. See what it is now. It's probably a coffee shop. But that helps us nail down exactly where it was sold. On the other side, we've got Webley patents and the flying bullet or pellet looking design. Very difficult for me to see what the camera's actually doing here. You see the degree of bluing? When I saw this, I immediately got the want that one thing running through my head. There are some caliber designations. It actually says 476/455. You can see that there's some finish loss once again on the top strap and along the barrel. A little bit more on this side, more loss on that side. So that barrel has heated up. Interesting that it's not only high edge wear, it's also within this scalloped shape in the top of the barrel. So that isn't from wear, that's from heating. So this pistol has been used. Lovely piece of kit. Double action, so When we say double action, we're talking about being able to pull the trigger, the cylinder presents the next shell, and the weapon is ready again to fire without having to pull the hammer back individually. So I don't want to do this too many times, but to the novices, this is double action. So that cylinder will spin into position every single time. If you are target shooting, or if you are taking a long distance shot, you can cock it, as I just did then. The spur of the hammer has got a rough cross hatching on, which gives you the purchase to pull it back. You can see there that that's most definitely a centerfire hammer. And then with this sight, which is fixed at the rear and fixed at the front, you can take long distance aim and fire. In fact, that's an incredibly light trigger. Once it's pulled back, for a heavy revolver like that, that's very nice, very nice. No, it doesn't make you pull the weapon off to one side or another. So as I mentioned, we've got this Bakelite grip. So I mentioned that the shape is the bird's head grip. They're covered in Bakelite grips that are nicely checkered. These aren't chipped. In collector's terms, rather nice, but they're not chipped. The bluing is beautiful, actually. Things I get carried away about. Beautiful bluing. Still a bit round the trigger guard. Brace underneath the barrel. You can see again that the bluing has been lost along the barrel. So this barrel is warmed up somewhat. The Webley company at this stage was really Webley and Scott was really a collection of many designers, and in wartime many makers, that pulled together to produce these revolvers for the British Army, certainly in times of war. And there are many different patents in here. If we want to get technical, there are patents over parts that we can't see within it, the spring mechanism, etc. One of the patents is for this barrel release lever and mechanism, which is rather clever. Push it back, and that actually then releases the whole top of the revolver. If you do it quick enough and it's loaded with cartridges, virtually indiscernible to the eye, this central star will lift rapidly and then stop moving and flick back in. And those empty cases are left hanging in midair. So the action would be to just flip, and out they go. They go flying out. All gone, empty. Easy to see that it's empty. You can then load individually, or with a speed loader, pop them in, sprung speed loader, and off they go. And all that mechanism is contained within the knuckle that the revolver pivots open on. It's a very clever thing. So, a highly reliable revolver, used probably in the Second Boer War and then the First World War. Definite knockdown power and a sturdy, well-made weapon, and a very accurate weapon, because the whole mechanism, etc., went on to be repeated in a target version. I'm trying to get a reflection up the barrel so you can see the condition of the rifling. You can always stop these videos if you're on a phone. Stop the rolling and then enlarge the screen to look at details up close. So that to me is a superb gun, superb pistol. Still got an awful lot of bluing on the inside. Can't fault it really. Apart from its weight, I would say that would be a wonderful revolver to take into action. And probably very many a brave man actually did. Whether they marched forward into their destiny or whether they succeeded, we will never know. And if these things could talk, I'd shut up and we'd listen to their stories endlessly. There you have it. The British WG Army model, probably made from about 1892 onwards. And the caliber didn't really change until the Second World War, when they started looking at 38, etc. But this is basically 45, 455 Ely. And really, compared to 763 or 765, that is a weapon with some knockdown power and a very solid frame. And a superbly clever locking up and ejection process. So I hope you have enjoyed a little talk. Oh yes, it's got a lanyard, because all British officers had to have their revolver hanging off a lanyard attached to their Sam Browne belt. Personally, I think I feel fairly confident with that. Beautiful, solidly built, and still functioning perfectly revolver. So thanks for joining. Look out for more videos. Please click like or subscribe, or if you've got any questions or points you want to raise. I'm not claiming to be a guru. I'm just enjoying talking about the subject of collecting these weapons and the actual aesthetics, design, and beautiful engineering and machine work. For more, have a look at the website, which is www.byswordandmusket, and I'll endeavour to bring you more fun time videos. Thanks for joining me. Take off my gloves again to switch off this machine.